Hi, I'm Sydney and I will be talking about 4 specific women presidents of Latin America. The first I will be talking about is Isabel Martinez de Perón. She's the first Latin American woman president ever. The second I will be talking about is Dilma Rousseff. She is the second most powerful woman in the world and president of Brazil. The third I will be talking about is Laura Chinchilla. She's the first woman president of Costa Rica. And lastly, I will be talking about Michelle Bachelet. She's the first woman president of Chile. Isabel Martinez de Perón was the 41st president of Argentina. She was not only the first woman president of her own country, but she was also the first woman president of all Latin American countries. She met her husband, Juan Perón, in either 1955 or 1956, dropping everything and joining him in exile in Madrid. They were married by 1961. In the late 60s and the early 70s, Isabel returned to Argentina several times in an attempt to get support for her husband. Finally, in 1973, he was able to return home. He became Argentina's 40th president, and Isabel was his vice president. Unfortunately, in 1974, on July 1st, he died, and Isabel succeeded him in office. Political violence and economic instability was waiting for Isabel whenever she became president. She tried fixing a few of these problems by appointing new cabinet members and passing new laws, but the military and the authorities were corrupt. In fact, she got overthrown March 24, 1976, and was placed under house arrest for 5 years. In 1981, she was convicted of corrupt practices and sent to Spain, and in 1983 she was pardoned. This photograph is showing whenever Isabel Perón was arrested by the military. She's announcing that she will not be running for re-election in the year 1976. In 2007, an Argentine judge issued a warrant for her arrest on the charges that she allowed armed forces to commit human rights abuses during her presidency. She was released 3 hours later. She is still alive today and she's 82 years old. Dilma Rousseff is Brazil's 36th president and first woman president. She is considered the world's second most powerful woman. She is 65 years old and more than halfway through her term. In her lifetime, this woman has been a guerrilla, a torture victim, an economist, an energy minister, and the president's chief of staff. And from 1964 to 1985, she joined a political faction that favored armed struggle against the dictatorship in her country, which joined other militant groups forming Kalina, National Liberation Command. The Kalina carried out bank robberies, car thefts, and a couple of bombings. In January 1969, there was a raid on a Kalina house and 2 policemen were killed while another was wounded. She was arrested in 1970 in Sao Paulo, where she went through 22 days of torture, including electric shock and a special device known as the Pau de Arara. She was sentenced to 6 years of imprisonment and 18 years without political rights. But 3 years later, the sentence was shortened and she was released in 1973. Pau de Arara literally translates to macaw's perch. A macaw is a type of parrot. The term originates from the habit of tying birds to a pole for sale, where they also hang for transportation. By analogy, the term has gained 2 distinct meanings. It can refer to an irregular flatbed truck used to transport migrant workers or a torture device developed during the Brazilian military dictatorship. The prisoner has the bound wrists and ankles positioned in front, similar to an upside-down oarsman, and is suspended upon a stick passed under the crook of the knees and suspended by 2 chairs or tables. It is designed to cause severe joint and muscle pain. Rousseff was Minister of Mines and Energy while working for a man named Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, best known by his nickname Lula. After a scandal in 2005, Lula's chief of staff had to resign, so he let Rousseff take the position. In 2009, she was diagnosed with cancer. In 2011, specialists in Sao Paulo declared her cured of lymphoma after it was treated with chemotherapy. She was elected president Monday, November 1st, 2010. In this past year of 2013, Rousseff caught the United States NSA spying on her. Obama attempted to resolve the issue, saying he was taking the situation seriously, but Rousseff was more than outraged due to the illegal act. The breach of privacy has made Rousseff wary, as well as demand to know everything the NSA found. The following clip shows Rousseff addressing the problem.
I request protocol to escort Her Excellency.
Entre elas, a missão permanente junto às Nações Unidas.
The permanent mission of Brazil with the United Nations and even the very presidency of the Republic of Brazil were subject to interception of communications. Meddling in such a manner in the life and affairs of other countries is a breach of international law, and as such, it is an affront to the principles that should otherwise govern relations among countries, especially among friendly nations.
Entre nações amigas. Estamos, Senhor Presidente, diante de caso grave.
What we have before us, Mr. President, is a serious violation of human rights and civil liberties. A case of invasion and capture of confidential secret information pertaining to business activities, and above all, a case of disrespect against the sovereignty of my country.
Soberania nacional do meu país. De brasileiros em apenas 2 anos. Reduzimos de
Laura Chinchilla is the first elected woman president of Costa Rica. She became president May 8, 2010 and is still in office today. She had to deal with cabinet reshuffling, growing budget deficit, border war with Nicaragua, increased drug trafficking, and sinking approval rates. She aspires to help our country gain more economic growth as well as stay out of war. Her biggest issue is getting economic growth for her people. Most of Costa Rica's money income is solely based on tourism from the United States. Due to the recession, tourism has declined tremendously. Another large problem that she has to deal with is the drug trafficking because Costa Rica is in the middle of Latin America. Even though Chinchilla is trying to help, her approval rating over the years has dropped. According to a survey published in the local magazine in Costa Rica, she is the most unpopular president in over 20 years. Her campaign slogan declares her to be firm and honest. Her 4-year term ends May 2014. Michelle Bachelet was Chile's first woman president from 2006 to 2010. Bachelet's father was a general in Chile's Air Force. He was captured and tortured for several months before suffering a heart attack and dying in 1974 while still in custody. Bachelet and her mother were then arrested and tortured in a secret prison. Released and exiled in 1975, she lived in Australia before making her way to East Germany. She returned to Chile in 1979, joining a medical clinic that specifically treated torture victims. In 2002, she became the first woman to lead the defense ministry. In 2005, she was a presidential candidate. Her campaign focused on the needs of the poor, the pension system, and women's rights. One problem she faced while president was massive protests and labor unrest because of mining and education problems. Her popularity declined but made a return on the second half of her term. She was able to set aside money to battle against a global financial crisis in 2008, funded pension reforms and social programs, and a stimulus package to create jobs. She also reduced poverty and improved early childhood education. She easily became one of Chile's most popular presidents, but because of the country's constitution, she wasn't able to return for a consecutive term. These 4 women will go down in history whether they were beneficial to their country or not. Thank you for watching my presentation.